Hey, we are back to school again with Professor Alex, and today we are going to be dividing fractions. Now, I kind of want to do a little bit of a review because if you've been following along, in the last chapter, we did multiplying fractions when I showed you that you can give you a problem here so you can see what we're talking about, where you can cross multiply to get the answer, and in doing so, if this was multiplication, you would simply flip the problem, which is getting the reciprocal to get your answer. So let me go ahead and do this for you real quick so you see what I'm talking about. 3 times 8 is 24. 12 times 6. 12 times 6 is 72. Now, because you multiplied this, it's going to be right here, you would flip this, which means that the actual correct answer for multiplication would be 72 over 24. Now, it's possible for you to reduce this if you divided both halves by 2 because this is an even number. And half of 72 is 36. And half of 24 is 12. Now, clearly, you can see that there are 3 12s and 36, which means that this actually could be 3. Now, the reason why I showed you that is because when we're dividing, we are cross multiplying or flipping the problem. So let me give you an easy problem. Okay. So if you have 3 times 9, or 3 divided by 9, sorry, and this is going to be divided by, let's say, 4 over 6. Now, there are two ways that we can do this. Now, there are two ways that we can do this. One, we can cross multiply. And this is because cross multiplying for multiplication is when you have A, B, C, D, and when you cross multiply for multiplication, your answer, AD CB, needs to be flipped so that the correct answer is CB over AD. This is your answer when you're cross multiplying with multiplication. And the reason why I'm teaching you this is because if you find something that works, you stick with it all the way through. That way, you understand it and you get the answer correct more than 90% of the time. But when you're dividing, you're cross multiplying because the reciprocal of BD in division is flipped. And then this is changed to a multiplication table. So now you end up with AC times DB, which then gets multiplied straight across to give you AD CB, which is ironically that answer there. So when multiplication, you either multiply straight across, or if you cross multiply because you learned how to cross multiply, and then you use the reciprocal of your answer here, you'll get the correct answer. Now, if you're also cross multiplying with division, you will end up with the correct answer with cross multiplying, because if you would have cross multiplied AB CD, your D would have went up here and you would have had AD and your CB would have went down here, which would have been CB, which is the same as if you would have gotten the reciprocal of the second fraction and then multiply straight across. So you might find when you first start out with multiplying and dividing, you might find these fractions easier if you just practice cross multiplying. Now, let's get to this problem here. Since we're cross multiplying 3 times 6, so remember, because we're cross multiplying, we are multiplying these numbers, not dividing them. But we're cross multiplying a division problem. So 3 times 6, 18. And that's going to be written at the top for the new numerator. And then 9 times 4 is going to be written at the bottom for the new denominator. 9 times 4 is what? 36, right? Now, these numbers actually can be reduced. Now, this, if the question is asking you, what is this answer? This is the answer to the question. But if the question asks you to go one step further and ask you to reduce it to its lowest form, to the lowest factors or lowest function of the fraction, you would look at these two numbers and you would find a factor that goes into the numerator here and the denominator here, and the highest factor that goes into both of these numbers is 6. So you would divide 18 by 6, you're going to get 3. If you divide 36 by 6, you're going to get 6. Now, we could have gone higher and said 18, but for those beginners who don't know all of their multiplication tables and you're in a rush, you want to look at the highest one that you can think about, and it's easier to go from 1 through 10, the highest number that you can find, 1 through 10, because if you reduce a number, say if this was 36 and 72, if you know that the highest number that goes into this is 6, you put 6 into both of these, and you would end up with 6 over 12, right? And then you take half of 6 over 12, and you get 3 over 6. But you also know that 6 is half of 12, and you also know that 3 is half of 6. And if you know that 36 is half of 72, then you know that all three of these answers are 1/2. So in your problem, if your instructor is asking you to solve the original equation, whatever your answer is your answer. But depending on what you're doing in 5th and 6th grade, there's a possibility that your instructor might ask you to also reduce the problem. And that's when you recognize that if 18 is half of 36, then the answer would be 1/2. But if you're reducing it because you're not familiar, the highest number that you can think about is 6. You take 18 divided by 6, you get 3. 36 divided by 6, you get 6. And now that you see that 3 is half of 6, you know that this answer is 1/2. Now, let's try this again. We're going to do, now, let's try this again. We're going to do 3 over 4, and we're going to divide that by 2 over 8. Now, the reason why I'm doing this one is because I'm going to show you that if you flip the reciprocal, flip the reciprocal as we discussed, your problem would then be, because you're going to not only flip the reciprocal, you're also going to change the sign. And you would do 3/4 times 8 over 2. And because you did this, this is the standard form. So the previous form I showed you was cross multiplying, which is the butterfly effect, and this one is just using the reciprocal, which is flipping the second fraction over and then multiplying straight across, which will give you 3 times 8 gives you 24, and 4 times 2 gives you 8. There are 3 8s in 24, so your answer is 3. And 3 is also equal to 3 over 1. So if you would have divided the top by 8 and divided the bottom by 8, you would have gotten 3 over 1, which is equivalent to 3. So let's do one more for good measure. 15 over 6 divided by 3 over 2. Now, if we do the standard form, we're going to flip the problem, and we're going to grab the reciprocal of this. So your new problem is going to be 15 over 6 times 2 over 3, and you're looking for the answer for this. So you're going to multiply straight across. 15 times 2 is 30. 6 times 3 is 18. And I'm going to do this so that you understand that 15 over 6 divided by 3 over 2 is equal to 30, 18. But we are going to reduce this to its lowest form. So you know that 6 goes into 30 and 6 goes into 18. So 30 divided by 6 is 5. 18 divided by 6 is 3. So your new fraction is actually also equal to 5/3. Now, if we know that there is at least one 3 over 3 in here, if we minus 3, we get 2. And this 3 over 3 is equal to 1. The remaining 2 is over 3, which comes over and turns your answer into 1 and 2 over 3. So the final answer to this question is 15 over 6 divided by 3 over 2 is equal to 1 and 2/3. This is the final answer in its lowest form. So that was a brain teaser. If you guys like what you learned from me, please be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment. If you have any math problems you want me to work out for you, just let me know and I will put it into one of my next videos. Also, in the description below, if you'd like to use me as a tutor, you can click on the link below and it'll take you to a place where you can sign up for tutoring sessions with me. Otherwise, this is all that we have for you today, and I hope that you guys enjoy your recess.